Hola amigos, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are discussing the latest record from Foals, Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost, Part 2. Foals are an English rock band who have remained busy in 2019. As the album title would suggest, this is a sequel and second half to Part 1, which came out back in March 2019. Part 1 was definitely a dance rock album that brought a lot of groove and electronic influence into the fold for Foals. I briefly mentioned in my Part 1 review the influence of Talking Heads on Foals, at least vocally, as there seems to be shrieking and hectic deliveries from the frontman of Foals, Giannis. We could draw some comparisons to David Byrne with his lofty pitch. However, the rest of Foals' DNA bears little to no resemblance to Talking Heads, as it's made up of a wide spread of genres: progressive, psychedelic, and math rock. Spearheading their riskiest musical decision in the band's discography yet, Foals have undertaken the tough task of putting together 2 full-length albums and releasing them within the same year. And sure, there's always that potential disappointment with 2 albums sounding very similar to each other, but I think Foals have kept things fresh with Part 2 and presented their fans with a heavier and hard rock inspired record. For me at least, there are enough differences on this album that it avoids any repetitive themes and sounds on Part 1, although it does also reward listeners of Part 1 with connected songs on these 2 albums, as we had Surf Part 1, the interlude, as track 8 on Part 1, and we also have Into the Surf, which is the follow-up to that on track 9 with Part 2. The album artwork is also connected to one another. Part 2 makes it a bit darker and more religious in contrast to Part 1, as Part 2 is displaying this cross wrapped with flowers that appears to be in a cemetery. Ironically enough though, this album isn't about dying, it's actually about pushing through hardships and picking up the broken pieces of a broken world and moving on from unhealthy circumstances, situations that may plague us on the daily basis. The resiliency that is on this album is showcased on the singles for sure. Black Bull acted as the lead single that came out in August. It made a loud statement with its thunderous volume of guitars and crunching production. Another single, The Runner, is also heavy and biting with its guitars. We have a propelling beat and catchy melody in the chorus. Keeping the energy high for the rest of this record, Wash Off is a song that is frenzied and it's feverish with its indie rock tune full of fire and spirit. Like Lightning is a track on here that offers a bit of a switch up from that hard rock. We get a bit of a break. We have these eerie and waterlogged vocal processing that's going on here. It's a bit more progressive in the verses juxtaposed to the roar and scratching chorus. I guess what I'm trying to get at with the song Like Lightning is that on the surface, with passive listening, there are a few songs on this record that might seem like a rehash to some of the songs on Part 1. The best examples of that being Dreaming Of and 10,000 Feet, but don't let these tracks fool you. They may start off very dreamy and pensive like many of the songs on Part 1, but they quickly transition and thrust forward with the clang and clatter that embodies Part 2 of this album. And just because Foals find a new sound and direction to take the second part of Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost, it doesn't stop them from being transcendent and grand on the song Neptune. This is the closing track on this record that has a clear direction right from the moment it begins. I love the synchronized melody between the vocals and the guitars. The song comes in waves. It ascends with heavenly sound play, yet it also crashes with authority. Now, I guess my one issue with Part 2, as good as it is, it doesn't feel as watertight with its track listing. The third single on this record, Into the Surf, is a dreary tune. It's pretty dull for its piano chords, apathetic vocals from Giannis. He sounds like he's bored out of his mind. It's also pretty repetitive, and it's not really fitting the cohesive sound of this album. It drags the pacing a little bit too, and that's a bit of a shocker because the final song on this album is like 10 minutes long, yet that could hold my attention more than this one. So at the end of the day, Part 2, Everything Not Saved Will Be Lost, I feel like it is a front-loaded album. Like, the best songs are at the beginning. Tracks 1 through 5 are not only the most sonically tight for Foals in their career, but they also offer some of the heftiest and most powerful riffs in their catalog yet. And for a group that lives and dies by their lush and ruminating synth work, I feel like Foals actually proved themselves to have ample musical ideas to spread over 2 projects in the same year. Sure, part 2 isn't nearly as versatile, or it may seem a little one-dimensional on the surface with its hard rock riff department, but I still think it explores this brittle and overlapping universe that doesn't necessarily need to be listened to in the context of part 1. It's different and discreet that it can be enjoyed separately. Although lyrically it is a treat, and it's a nice continuation and counterpoint to the destructive themes on part 1. It's definitely more about the perseverance and pushing through times of frustration and sorrow. I guess for me though, the pacing does drag from time to time, and some of the songs feel like B-side quality, but I'm still feeling a 7 out of 10 on this record, and it's a good one. Don't sleep on this. Speaking of sleep, I might actually go sleep, but yeah. In the meantime, sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of this Foals record. Leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town. Thanks for watching, and as always, have a rockin' day.